All right, let's go to Lynn in Dallas, Texas. Hey, Lynn, what's up?
Hi, can you hear me all right?
I can. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Just having the time of my life. Literally the best day ever. That's probably a stretch.
Yeah.
But we're trying, right? What's up?
Yes. I'm a little nervous here. Okay. So
have you heard this show, right?
I know.
Yeah. We're all
it's different though. When
clearly
you're
making this up as I go, so you're good.
Okay. It's kind of a lot, so I have like my little points that I kind of outlined, so I'm just going to go with it.
Very good. Read them all. Let's do it.
Okay. So, I basically grew up in like a Christian home, very spiritual background. Parents were pastors, things like that. And so
So you're clearly traumatized.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. And so basically, I wasn't like allowed to have a boyfriend, things like that growing up, kind of stay away from everything like that. So okay. 5 years ago, I'm out on my own, working, all that fun stuff. And I was sexually assaulted by a coworker.
I'm so sorry, man.
Really, yeah. Okay. So
hold on. Let's just stop for a second. You are a preacher's kid, and you are masterful at having an experience and then quickly and dutifully brushing it off the table so it doesn't ruin anybody else's time. And that ends right now. Cool?
Yeah.
Growing up with two parents that are pastors, even if they're wonderful people doing their best, is hard. The part of my life story that I don't tell very often is that my dad was a homicide detective for half my life. And then he quit literally over a weekend and became a pastor. And my life changed. It's hard. And my dad was pretty good at being very transparent with me and being open with me, and it was still hard, right? So, you grew up in a hard situation, and your parents intentionally, for whatever host of reasons, didn't allow you to experience certain types of relationships, and that's hard, right? And then a coworker, somebody that should be safe, takes everything from you.
Yeah.
How many times have you said that out loud?
This would be the second.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I wrote it down a lot, and so I didn't think I was going to get a little choked up at that part when I actually said it.
Grief demands a witness, and I'll sit here with you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry,
that was 5 years ago.
Okay.
It makes it a little more rough because the person that did that was actually aware that I was saving myself for marriage and that I hadn't had a boyfriend and all of that. He actually knew that.
Okay.
And at the time I was also interning at a church. And so
you take hold on. So you take sexual assault, and on top of it, you're taking some very clear moral boundaries that you'd drawn for yourself, some boundaries you'd placed on yourself in a context, and he knowingly smashed those. And then you throw on top of that how notoriously awful churches are at responding to these sorts of things. And that's where you work. And so you were probably the problem. If you said anything, so you probably said nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you for that because you didn't have a context for that. You didn't have parents you could go to. You didn't have friends you could go to. You didn't have coworkers you could go to. And now you can't go to your church, right? So your body has frozen in time. That's why 5 years later, you can say this out loud for the second time. And it's like, oh, is that the light? It starts coming out right away, right? And you're so good. You're so good. You can stamp that stuff out real quick. Fair?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I apologize. I keep interrupting you, and that's
You're good.
That's a rude thing to be for me to be doing right now. The last thing you need is for some idiot to take away your autonomy yet again. So go ahead and continue. I'll do my best to quit interrupting you.
Yeah, I didn't even tell my church for a year after it actually happened. But since I was there, I didn't tell them, so I was still interning at the church, and then I kind of felt like I was playing a role where people are coming to me and like help asking for advice for things. And then I've got all this going on the side. So when I did tell them about it, like a year later, they overstepped quite a bit and just like shoved all sorts of therapy down my throat. And here's resources, and this is what you need to do. And they were telling everyone. So people I didn't even know were approaching me and telling me their stories. And so I ultimately left that church.
Good. They don't deserve you.
Happened.
They don't deserve you.
Yeah, that.
Oh my gosh,
that was a lot. So I did go to some of the therapy though after that happened, and I felt like I was making progress. Now I'm starting to question that. Now that I'm telling the story. But I feel like I've made some good progress over the last 4 years. As a result of that, which is kind of good information to know, the way that I kind of coped with that situation was by starting to drink. I started drinking pretty heavily. I did start sleeping around a little bit. And so I did that for about a year.
Okay. So can I pause you? Do I have your permission to cut you off for a second?
Yes.
Okay. Super, super common response. You're not crazy. Okay. A very common response to having somebody steal your sexuality from you is an attempt to reclaim ownership of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? By entering into a whole bunch of other sexual relationships so that I am in control and I will exert it. And it's often followed by feeling really bad about yourself and shameful. And so the way we're going to overcome feeling bad about ourselves is we're going to reclaim it even more. And sometimes those experiences escalate or they accelerate and they get riskier, right? But I'm in control, right? So that's super common. And alcohol, literally, the problem with alcohol is it works till it kills you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It does it shuts everything off. It does. And so I want you to hear me say, you're not crazy. You're not a terrible human being. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Back in. Play.
Yeah. So I stopped that. Stopped sleeping around. Cut back a lot of the drinking. Got a new therapist, new psychiatrist. So I've really been working on myself, really trying to kind of heal and recover from that.
Very cool.
So now I'm getting to the point where I want to start dating, want to start finding someone. And I've kind of set my own new kind of boundaries and standards. And what I would like to happen.
All right, hold on. I got to cut you off again. Lynn, you're not going to kind of maybe set my... No, you're freaking Lynn from Dallas. Here's my boundaries. This is the way I'm going to roll because I'm Lynn from Dallas. And I don't give a crap what you think or what you say. None. Zero. Until... we have enough of a relationship that I give you access to my heart, which, by the way, is mine to give out. Not my parents, not my crappy church that failed me, not the people who have been asking for my advice and wisdom for all these years. I decide. And then when you give access to somebody, then you care, right? Then they have permission. Mm-hmm. My wife has permission to hurt me, which means she also has permission to love me deeply. Okay? And those things work in tandem. Mm-hmm. But right now, no, you're like, I'm kind of thinking about some boundaries. No, Lynn, you're all in. You're a gangster, dude. Nobody's messing with Lynn. Right?
Right.
Yes. Yes. Good. Okay. Play. Go, you're back in.
Okay, so the boundaries that I have set are that when I find the right person, I don't want to have sex until we're married.
Great.
I think that that's very honoring to God, and I want our relationship to start out in that way.
Can I ask you this? Does it honor you?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be a part of the honoring equation. You can't leave yourself out. Okay? You've left yourself out your whole life. Or let me put it this way. Everyone left you out. And nobody bothered to tell you that you were worth honoring too. And so, if your relationship and your to God and your faith and your psychology work and all of this has led you to a place where this is what I want for me, then you owe nobody any explanation for that. None. Zero. Whatever it may be. Okay?
Yeah.
You're worth being honored. And you get to decide what that honoring looks like. Cool?
Yeah.
I hate that nobody's ever told you that.
Yeah.
You should have got that. Your parents aren't here to defend themselves, so I'm going to not talk about them.
No.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So the issue that I've been running into when it comes to starting to date and having clear expectations of who I'm interested in, someone like-minded, shares the same belief, things like that. The issue that I'm having is either I'll find someone that is also saving themselves, and once I tell them about my past history, they'll usually say, sorry, I'm looking for someone that's, waited and all of that, which is fair. Or I run into the people that say they have the same values and it's so cool, but then they'll also say, well, I think we should move in together and we should definitely have sex anyway, and we're going to get married, so it's fine, and not what I want. And so the question, which I think you sort of answered a little bit already, was if I should adjust my boundaries to kind of be more aligned with my options.
Yes, you should absolutely compromise your values. I think you're set your boundaries too high. You're expecting too much of people, and you should water down what you feel and what you think is right so that somebody will like you. That sounds insane, right?
It does.
Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the deal. It's real frustrating right now because you've put in a ton of work to heal and you're lonely is all bloody hell, right?
Yeah.
And this is the part that gets left out of the conversation. Sex is connecting. It does make you feel less alone for a season. It has a back end to it, right? That makes it has a downstream effect that makes you lonelier over time, right? If you're being used for sex, you're using other people for sex, right? And that's not religious woo-woo, that's out of the scientific literature. But it is connecting. And when you cut that off cold turkey and you quit drinking, suddenly you're faced with this stark, real pain from a sexual assault. You're having to deal with and stare down and walk through parents who didn't show up for you because they were too busy doing things not of this earth. Right?
Yeah.
And it's lonely. And so you could get in line with millions and millions and millions of other people who have just settled and just said, and I'm not saying like, no, bro, she's got to be a perfect 10. And if she doesn't have abs well, those idiots. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about settling on the things that, as we talked about earlier, honor you. And you get to choose those things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What I would recommend is backing out of the romance part of all of this. Do you have a group of friends you just go hang with?
I don't.
You don't. Because you're probably not religious enough for the Jesus freaks, and you're probably too faith-oriented for people that you think are just regular people. Is that fair?
You nailed it.
And some of my best friends on the planet are atheists. And I'm a Christian guy for this. Some of my best friends in the world have different political ideas than me, have lives that look very different than mine. And that changed when I quit being an arrogant idiot, assuming that other people were going to be certain ways. Okay?
Mm.
And so what you need is a healthy dose of just good old-fashioned friendship, which means you are going to have to just go be weird and hospitable and say, I'm having a holiday get together. Everybody come over and bring whatever you got left in your house. And Lynn, I'm going to give you all the questions for humans. I'm going to give you every one of them except for the parents and kids ones. And then you're just like, we're just going to we're going to hang out and play this stupid questions thing that this podcaster gave me. And we're just going to go down rabbit holes. And if you invite 7 or 8 people, 3 or 4 might come.
Yeah.
Right? And the other 3 or 4, you were raised in a house where it's your job to make sure everybody else was okay. You got to quit doing that because it's an exhausting task that's not your job. Those 3 or 4 people are not going to come. You know why? Because of things they're going through, not because of you. Or it might be because of you, because you're weird. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because of them, they don't want to go. Cool. I'm not going to hang on to that. I'm going to invite people to my house. And if only 2 show up, cool. We'll eat whatever half casserole we got left and whatever weird box of cereal you had left. And, you got like a quarter bottle of wine. Let's just mix them all together and create, and we'll have that. And we're just going to play games. Or if you're trying not to drink, cool. We're going to have a Diet Coke fest. Whatever we're doing. And we're going to get to know each other. And out of that group, 1 or 2 people will emerge as we connected. I like that dude. I like her. She's pretty cool. What you really need practice at is relationship. Because you're running into these things looking for romance without the skill set of how to be a friend, how to be in somebody else's space. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so let's practice being in other people's space. And what's going to emerge out of that is, romance, gross. And somebody's going to show up with some guy's going to bring him over and you're going to be like, and he's going to be like, and then it's just going to get gross and weird. Right?
Yeah.
And then you'll have had time to practice relationship. And you'll have had time to practice telling the truth and practice being vulnerable and practice being intimate and open without sex. And those are all skills. They're not moral issues or character flaws. They're just skills, man. And most of us don't have those skills. We have to learn them. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Do you trust me?
I do.
Okay, here's what we're looking for. Fun. Laughter. Like from your guts. Being able to say, yeah, I was sexually assaulted. Sucked. Took 5 years of my life. It took a big part of my identity. It just stole it. I've had a lot of healing. What about you? Can you imagine being able to do that? Not in a flippant way, not in a lack of compassion way, but in a way that my body doesn't react anymore on me because I've been through the trauma healing part of this thing. And now I can talk about it as a cautionary tale. Now I can talk about it as I am really convicted about women having the opportunity and the right to speak on behalf of their own bodies. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a power and strength that comes from the other side of grieving and healing. And you're worth all of that.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah. That's fair.
Do not compromise the things that honor you. And since you're a person that shares my same faith trajectory, don't compromise on things that you believe dishonor God. Okay?
Yeah.
Make choices in the present that future Lynn is going to be really grateful that you made, even when they're hard.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So before You got 72 hours, 3 days. Is that 3 days? Yes. I don't know how math works. You got 3 days to set up an event at your apartment or your house, wherever you live. Cool?
Okay.
And I'll get all these things out in the mail to you. And I want you to use them. I want you to have fun. And if you don't use the cards, that's cool, man. Watch Die Hard, the greatest Christmas movie of all time. Like watch old movies, whatever it is. But let's get weird and let's be hospitable and let's go first. And let's invite people over and we're going to just start making friends. And if they want to opt out, cool. And if they just want to talk about politics and COVID, well, then that's probably not, this probably isn't the house for you. Or we're going to have hard conversations. Cool, whatever it is. Whatever it is. You're worth being in a relationship with. You're worth being friends with. And yes, you're worth romantic love. And it will come. It will happen. It will happen. It will happen. So I'm blessed to have gotten to speak with you and talk to you. Thank you for being brave and being open. And please apologize. The last thing you needed was some idiot interrupting you 45 times, and I apologize. You're so worth being loved, and it's on the way.